And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. It's the opinion show that cares. I am your host, Rob, with my co-host as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm good, Rob. How you doing?
Oh, absolutely positive today, with the exception of having COVID and almost cutting my finger off.
That's a good day, huh?
See, for the people at home that actually can see my finger, it's
pretty.
It is. It is so pretty. So today we're going to talk some relationship stuff because, well, we always like talking about the realism of being in relationships these days, since we're always in something crazy. We're going to talk long distance relationships because I think, because look, I mean, we're all either far away, like really far away from each other, where you're doing a relationship across the United States, or like we were talking about before the show off air, like living in California, you might live in a city that's 60 miles away, but 60 miles in this traffic will take you 2 hours to get there. So
That's true.
It's kind of a bizarre thing, I think, where, you know, and look, they're not for everybody. You have to, I think, be, you kind of have to be a special person to be in a long distance relationship. You have to
imagine.
I think so. Only because I think you have to have, for one, willpower, right? So, you know, because not that you're always searching, but there's always somebody that you might run into or meet at the supermarket, or, you know, people from your past. You know, we talked about it before, like social media is kind of a bizarre thing where you might not talk to somebody for 5 years and out of nowhere, boom, hey, I'm back in your life.
Right.
You know, that's kind of a bizarre thing. And you could even be in
another country and it could happen.
Exactly. And I think that's the scary fucking part. Like, out of nowhere, people can come into your life again. And so I think, you know, with a long distance relationship, you have to have trust and definitely have to have discipline. Because I think that is a heavy part of that. Because look, there's advantages and disadvantages to being in a long distance relationship. I think the advantages are when you see each other, it's amazing. Right. But the disadvantages are the being able to just see someone.
Yeah, you can't get in your car and just go over.
Exactly. And I think that that's, you know, at least from the people that I know who've been in them, that's usually the hard part, where they're just like, oh, you know, you know, you're lucky because you can just go see somebody. It's like, yeah, that is a good thing. But you also get used to seeing them all the time, and maybe your relationship isn't as, I hate to say hot and heavy, but, you know, when you don't see each other for a long period of time, your relationship is pretty spicy, right? Because you're making up for that lost time, man, and you're on the clock. You're like, we only got a, you know, 3 hours. We gotta go. So there's something about that. So I know, I don't know if, you know, have you ever been in a long distance relationship?
No.
No. I've been in one, I think, when I was young, but I don't, like, I was 17 and this girl ended up moving back to New York, and it was during the school year. So we would talk off and on, and I ended up going back to New York for the summer. So, but I mean, I was 17 years old or 16 years old. So I don't think it was like, and I hate to put, you know, the air quotes of real, because it was real, but it wasn't like I had my own money that I could just buy a plane ticket and be like, well, I'm coming out 4 weeks from now. So like now I can. So if I want to, you know, I go visit my friend in North Carolina, whenever I want, because fuck it, I got money.
Exactly.
So I think that there's a little something different about that. Like if you have vacation time as an adult and you have money, you go see whoever the fuck you want. There's nothing really holding us back. So, like to me, what's the longest distance you think you could handle?
I don't know, a couple hours maybe.
Okay. I
could do that. I mean, I would kind of dig the fact they couldn't just pop by, but also I don't want it to be too long, because if it's too long, would I want to go? I don't know.
Yeah, because I think
have to be somebody pretty special, though.
I agree with that. I think that you can do across the country, but it has to be something so special that you just know. And I think if you're going to do that, there has to be a real point of no return. Like you have to keep thinking like, hey, I want this to be forever. Like you're not just doing it to do it. Because I think that's kind of the thing too, is like there has to be an end game. I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody across the country for 5 years.
Right.
Like, that's crazy shit. Like, and I think that's how I don't understand how people in the movie industry try to make that shit work. Because like, you know,
why not?
Because you're like in other countries for months. You know what I mean? Like they're like, this person's dating this person. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And they both live in Los Angeles. Oh, that's fucking cool. Well, he's making a movie in you know, Switzerland, and she's making a movie in Atlanta, and they don't see each other for 5-6 months at a time. So, and I think that's probably why those type of relationships don't work very often. You know, they work for a short period of time, or they meet when they're filming on the same movie. So you're with them for 5 months. So you get this bond in a relationship, and then it's off to the next movie and things end up failing. So I don't know. To me, you'd have to make sure that you saw each other, you know, quarterly, every 3 months, you know.
I couldn't do it that. I would not do a long distance relationship and let it go quarterly. I think no, I wouldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
Right. No, but I think you already know that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I think you know your personality. Like, I definitely would have a problem long term. You know what I mean? Like, I can get it. And we'll kind of talk about this as we go, because I think, you know, we were talking about it earlier where when we were young, and mostly us, like, long distance calls cost a fuck ton of money. Like it was like, you know, $1 something a minute. So, you know, you're like watching the clock and you're like, I gotta go. I've been on the phone for 10 minutes and my dad's going to fucking kill me. So, so you would get on, or you'd have to ask like, hey, I'm going to call New York. They'd be like, well, you better fucking get off soon. Cause you know, it's like, okay, you know, we live in a time where cell phone calls are free, no matter where the fuck you call.
Pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. So what do you give a shit? You're, you know, or FaceTime. You can literally FaceTime people in other countries and it's free. So I think
we used to write letters and not see each other's faces.
That is correct.
Wait for the mail lag. Do you remember that?
Days.
I used to love writing letters.
It was great though, because I think that you got something more out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
you learn to be patient.
Well, and yes, for one, patient, for sure, patient. But I also think that there was something to that wait. You know, you'd mail the letter, and let's say they were across the country. So you go, okay, it's 5 days to get there. They're going to write a letter. And so in 2 weeks, you're going to get this letter, and you'd be waiting at the mailbox. Like you'd go to the mailbox, you'd be like, fuck, I finally got it. And if you knew it was going to be like that, it wasn't like a one letter or a 1-page letter either. Like you ended up getting fucking 5-6 page letters where you know,
got some communication going on.
Exactly. And I think like those are the special moments that are gone now, because now we live in the email. You want someone to read something? Hold on.
They got it. It's received.
Yeah. You're throwing emails back at each other. So it's a little different. And text messages. Obviously, text messaging, I think, is it is the same thing. It's like it's instant gratification. So I think that's what makes long distance relationships easier, I think. Because like I said, even like 2 hours away, if I was in a relationship with somebody 2 hours away, you can talk daily and feel like you're still in each other's lives enough to not want to run off.
Yeah.
So
I think if it was a 2 hour away sort of a thing, I'll see you for the weekend, or
correct.
I'm going to leave Thursday night, take off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll come back Monday night or Tuesday morning. You try to like maximize the amount of time you would stay together, or at least I would, because otherwise I don't think I would do it.
No, I think you're correct. And I think that's how everyone has to think these days, right? Because you're right. There's no way you're only going for a day. You know, you're like, look, right? we have to maximize this out. And I think it also makes for better planning of things. Like if you know you have 4 days, you know you have a kickback day where you can sit around the house and like just be that, and you can plan a date, and you can go to the zoo, or whatever your fucking thing is. It's not a problem when you make a solid commitment to a 4-day weekend, you know, or you know, and look, you can't do that every weekend just because we all live in that world. But I think there's a 4-day weekend here, and then both days on the weekend, you know, Friday night, all of Saturday, most of Sunday. I'll see you next weekend. So there is something about that. And that's why, like, I think if it's across the country, you're making long commitments. You're like, look, I'm coming out for a week. Because if you go out for a weekend, that time, I mean, 2 of those days
unless
are flying.
It's like unless it's something like I've got to see you. I'm going crazy. I'm on my way. It's going to be like a whatever it is. But you know what? I think when men do that and they take initiative to do those sort of things, that makes me appreciate them. You know what I mean? Because nowadays, not too many people plan.
No, because we're jaded by being able to see each other so often. So you feel like you almost don't have to plan. You're right? Like, well, and again, I think any new, fresh relationship, you're planning, you're doing your best to plan, right? Because you're trying to make this thing work. But I think that if you're not doing that in a committed relationship or in a marriage, you're going to run into that failure problem at some point. That's why, as we talked in many shows before this, communication is fucking key to everything.
Absolutely.
But I agree with you. I think that men in general aren't the greatest planners. Not that we get lazy
Is
quickly.
it men in general, or is it just certain men? Because I've seen men that plan, but you know what I also see is women don't give them credit. So they don't want to piss her off or make her mad. So they just won't do it because they don't know how it's going to be received.
Yeah, that could be true. I think that, look, the reciprocation of that has to be forward. Like, it has to be like, oh, I'm so glad you did this. And and it's awesome that you made this work. So yes,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of men get spoiled quickly and or get, I don't want to use the word lazy. I that's not what I'm thinking.
Complacent?
You just get comfortable. So you think it's okay that, like, as long as you're hanging out at the same house, that it's okay. But I also, like I said, I think that you have to make sure that they know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're not happy, you better start talking. Like, you got to say,
Yes.
hey, can we plan something? Awesome.
Yes.
You know, and again, like, to me, planning is a lot of different things. You can get away with, if you know your relationship, you could have a pizza night and watching a movie at home, and you're both very happy with doing that. But
Right.
you both have to understand that that's okay. You know what I mean? Because if you're not, then you're both losing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, there's something to that. If it's a 4-day weekend, you should make a plan. I think that's pretty, should be pretty upfront. Like, knowing, like, yeah, this is what we need to do because I'm not seeing her every day. So yes, I need to make this weekend somewhat special. Now, maybe the next weekend when you only have 2 days, it's a day by the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a day, you know, whatever your thing is, but it doesn't have to be this planned out, you know, trip to the fucking Queen Mary and dinner and this and that. It doesn't always have to be that. But I do believe
absolutely. And it shouldn't be.
Right. Well, exactly. It shouldn't be.
Yeah,
but I do believe that you should make those plans when you can, because plans are fun. I mean, if you're doing it right, but you have to know your significant other or the person that you're starting to date. You should have already communicated with them on, like, hey, what are you into? Like, can I take you to the gun range and we can go shooting?
Right.
And I think that there's a give and take with that. Maybe she's not into guns and you're like, hey, let's give it a shot. If you don't, pardon the pun, you know, if you don't like it, then we won't do it anymore. But it's like, you know, let's kind of bounce things off of each other so we understand, hey, this is what we want to do. Because when you're in a long distance relationship and you're driving 2-3 hours to see somebody, like, you should have some kind of plan so people aren't blindsided or start feeling shitty because you're like, well, I mean, you know, all he wanted to do is come over here and sit on the couch. It's like, no, that's not what he wanted to do, but he didn't know what to do, or you're not communicating enough that, hey, make sure when you come out this week, like, we're going to do something, right? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make plans. So
right.
I think that, because if you want this relationship to work, you have to make sure you're communicating and getting in deep with it. Like, hey, I want to make this work. Sweetie, I'm driving 85 miles. You know, I'm coming out there on a Friday night after work. I'm taking my clothes to work. I'm packing up my bag. You know, I'm not going home. I'm literally leaving from work at 5 o'clock because I don't want to get stuck in shittier traffic on the freeway.
Right.
Both parties need to understand that, you know, you worked all day. You know, maybe the Friday night is the Chinese takeout and Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's okay because you know you have Saturday planned already. Like, we're gonna sleep in a little bit. We have plans for this. We're gonna go to this concert. We're gonna do this. So there's an expectation for Saturday that's high, but the low expectation Friday is still quality time. It's just not, you know. Or it's, hey, I'm going to pick you up. We're going to have a drink with your friends at the bar down the street that we don't have to drive to. Shit, we can walk around the corner
Right.
have a couple drinks, walk home, and it's still a fun time, but you're not up until 3 a.m. on a Friday when you have plans on Saturday. So I think that those are the things that I think are not just dating in a long distance relationship, it's dating period. Mm-hmm. But when you're in this long distance thing, your time is on both sides it means a lot. Like you should make sure that you're using all those minutes wisely. So
I agree. I remember when I was younger, I had friends that lived in another state, and we would always just jump in the car and go. And I remember like trying to squeeze every last minute or even every last dollar to go and be there for a weekend. And it could be a 13-hour drive, and we did it for a week, and I used to love those days. But now I'm like, that's a lot of work. Like, that's just not, I don't have that kind of energy to want to spend that doing that. Like, it was a lot.
It's because it's hard. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, it's even like, I remember when I was married and, you know, my girls were little or younger, and my son was probably, I don't know, 2 or 3, and we would go camping, and loading the car felt like a fucking job because you had your fucking 2 tents and your this and your grill and your food, and by the time we would go to Carpinteria.
My favorite place on earth.
Oh, I love carp. Carp is awesome. If anyone out there who's listening out of state, if you're ever in the state of California and Southern California, Carpinteria has a state beach that you can camp there. And
but you shouldn't go because it's horrible and we can never get in. So don't go there.
Yes. My ex-wife would call on January 1st and book for June or July.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way you can get in.
A year in advance now, they're saying.
That's what I heard. I heard it's a year in advance.
Yeah.
So, you know, we would pack all that shit up and drive out there, and it was an ordeal, and it was only fucking 2 hours. By the time I got there, I was
not even. It's an hour. Well, maybe from where you live now, but like from the valley, it's an hour and 15 minutes. It's so close.
Yeah, and well, it all matters what time you go as well. But I just remember like. We would pull up and I'd be like, I'm so fucking tired. I don't want to do shit. And now I have to build fucking tents. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm almost like, But again, looking back on that, it was quality time. So
yeah, I agree.
And at that time, I might not even have been married. Well, I was if my son was born, but we used to go camping when we were just dating. So, we did the same thing. So I don't know. With long distance relationships, and again, since you're not in one, what would you do to close the gap? Like if you were in a long distance relationship, let's say out of state and in state, what would you do to close the gap on, making it easier?
I don't know. Just like I said, getting in the car and making the trip, not expecting the other person to always do the work. Mm-hmm. Spend the extra amount of time, move closer, figure out a way to make, if you're together on that level, I mean, doesn't it make sense to not be so far away?
Yes. In a perfect world, I would say yes. But I think, a lot of us have jobs where I hate to say stuck, but you're pretty dug in with a job in a lot of places. I think technology is the only way to make the gap better. We record this show over the interwebs. I think with Zoom, or if you have an Apple phone, FaceTime, that is the one thing that's making it easier in a technology world. You can literally, and I mean literally, get on your phone, look at each other live, and have a serious conversation with emotion, I think that's one thing that's kind of killing relationships, I think, too, is text messages, because obviously they can be taken so many different ways. I think with technology like FaceTime, there is no more wondering. You see emotion, and I think that's a very, very strong weapon in keeping a relationship going. Again, whether it's close or far away, but on a far away one, definitely, because you can make them feel special without having to not have emotion in it. Like, a text message is great, but it's even better when you can be like, hey, I see you. So, there is that.
Look what I just did. I love FaceTime for that. Look what I just did.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you back.
Or, you can literally put your phone somewhere in your kitchen and cook while you're talking to somebody, and you feel like you're in the same room with them. Like, yeah, hey, look, check this out. I'm cooking this shit. I'm cooking eggs and bacon. Look, this is awesome. I'm cooking breakfast, and it's, 7:00 at night. I think there's something to that where you do have the luxury of feeling like you're much closer than you are.
No, there's absolutely, that's the good thing about now as opposed to back when we were growing up. But I mean, I love that we grew up in a time where we didn't have cameras on our hip everywhere we went, or in our hand everywhere we went, because I would have been in so much trouble. That would not have been good for me as a person. But on the other hand, the ability to call your little boyfriend or whatever from school and see where he's at, what he's doing. You could talk to him. You could see him. He could say, look at my haircut. You could see all that. We didn't have that. I mean, the time of pagers is come and gone,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. I think it's cool. But again, like in a relationship, I don't know. Maybe it's a sign of the times too, but what happened to touching and being present and doing things together? And, these people are really getting into these longer term relationships, or not longer term, but long distance relationships, but they're not physically touching. Mm-hmm. I don't know. To me, that's just kind of weird because I like to touch.
Well, that kind of draws, we can kind of go back to the 5 love languages show. Mm-hmm. You need to know your love languages before you get into a long distance relationship. Because if you are a touchy feely person, that can really kind of draw you down. And yeah, I think that, there's no fulfillment in that relationship then. It's just, right. There's, again, if you're not seeing each other enough, that can be a hindrance, and that it'll take the wind out of you, and you can't have that either. So, but I think, my love language is generally, I am a physical person. So that does draw, and it doesn't even have to be a sexual thing. Like you said, just holding hands or rubbing each other's arms or whatever. That's an important part of a relationship. And I think that, you both have to be somewhat similar in your love languages. They have to be close, within, the top 3 have to be somewhere in there, because someone's always going to have, want to be touched more. And someone's always going to want to have you having the affirmation of doing something for you. So,
but do they really need to? I don't think people need to have the same love languages. They just need to know that the other person's going to need whatever level of
love language they have.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't think they have to be identical, but I think it definitely helps if you are similar. Look, like I said, my love language is very, very high. If you went back and listened to our show, I think it was like show number 3. Mine is very high with intimacy and that kind of thing. So I think as long as each other know what they're looking for, you'll you can fix that. You can you not fix. You can understand that that's the love languages. So I don't know. I think that it's definitely a way of doing it. But I think it's important if you're going to have a long distance relationship that when you see each other, it's like, look, just remember, I like this.
Yeah.
So
and I'm looking forward to that.
Exactly. And there we go with the communication. Like,
yeah,
can't wait to see you so I can do this. There are ways
to get your needs met without belittling a person or making them feel like, I hear from men a lot, just in my passing things that happen during the day, that men tend to feel like they can't do anything right and they're underappreciated. I kind of get that because of the lifestyle we all live and how we are in this world right now. And I think, wow, if that's what they're saying they need, how easy is that to fix it? And then why wouldn't you want to, if it's somebody that you want to be, intimate with? Quit bitching at them and kind of you could do a positive, you could tell somebody a positive way, like, ooh, when I come to see you tonight, I really can't wait to do this with you. Or instead of saying, hey, asshole, you haven't touched me in 3 days. Are we doing this tonight? There's a way to,
yeah, you want to turn somebody off quick. Try that shit.
Right? Because guys don't want to hear that. They're always wrong, or they can't do anything right. Or
I think nobody wants to hear it, but I think that men probably take it a little different.
Yeah.
But I think people take it. Look, it all matters who you are as a human. Which again is kind of like the love languages and the communication. It's like, if I'm asking you questions, me personally, I'm taking that knowledge and I'm putting it in my head or in my phone, and like, I want to know who you are as a person, what your favorite colors are. I want to know this stuff because it makes special things way more special. Because I might pull something out and get you something that you never saw coming, but I remember you saying it to me 5 months ago. But
you're kind of a different guy though, too, because you said a little bit ago, like maybe we could go to a zoo. I never thought to go to a zoo on a date, or you come up with ideas that are different than what most people would even come up with.
Just because I think that when you go on dates like that, it's more about the communication than the date.
Yeah.
When you're walking around looking at the fucking albino alligator, it's a piece to talk about. Like, damn, I'm almost that white. What do you think? and then the next thing you're cracking a joke. The ice is broken. You're giggling about whatever. Then you go down to the monkeys, and the monkeys are like people, right? So they have children, and they're doing this and they're doing that. So I just think the zoo is a great place to communicate, and you can just walk around. There's nothing to,
nobody's rushing you.
No, you're just walking around. And when you're done, you're like, cool. You want to go get some food, or you want to, icy? You can go get, so I try to think of things like that because I like to talk. So for me, anything that's a communication skill plus being able to share, and I like the zoo. So like for me, I like animals. So it's kind of it's a two-way street. So that's why I listen to whoever I'm with. I might go, okay, she's into this. I might wait 2 or 3 dates in if I know things are going well, and then pop the one that's like, oh yeah, fuck, he remembered. I did tell him that, like, the first night we went out at dinner, I told him I like this shit because I think about that kind of stuff, and I'm crazy. Like I said, I might go out on a date, and if she has to go to the restroom, I might start typing information under her number because I want to remember that shit. I want to remember. So
do you really do that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I want to know, because that's how. Look, I've been hit in the head a bunch of times. So I don't remember everything. So that's just a great way of remembering. And it's I think it's a solid thing long run to remember things about people. So I don't know.
Interesting.
So do you think long distances relationships can work? Do you think it can work? Not with you per se, just in general.
I was going to say, I think anything could work if there's the right combination and there's the right level of commitment. But for me personally, it's not something I want to do.
Right. I mean, it's not
like at a certain age, you don't want to struggle anymore. You know what I mean? And I think I hit that age where I'm like, yeah, the struggle doesn't sound like something that, it doesn't drive me anymore to go that far out of my way to have a relationship.
Right.
When the struggle is real already, let's try to make it easier on us from the get. That's how I see. You know what I mean?
No,
I don't know.
I do.
Maybe I'm the wrong person to ask these questions to because of where I'm at in my life. Like, I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea.
I know. I think you're actually the perfect person to ask because of where you're at. Because of what can be coming in your life. You don't know. Generally, I don't think I'm good with long distance relationships, but I definitely can make it work because you can, like you said, you can make anything work. And to me, if I'm talking to the right person about the right things, I can go a long period of time without seeing you because you're doing it for me emotionally. So like,
I get you.
I like that part. Like an emotional relationship is just as important as a physical one. To know that someone's there for you every day and you're talking to them and you're communicating and you're telling each other the important things in life. Like, oh, my fucking kid did this or my fucking job is like this and holy shit. So like for me, I think it's I could do it. It just takes a lot more. It takes an emotional commitment heavily to make sure that the times you're with somebody that physical part is just as important as the emotional one.
So how do you deal with it when you have the lonelies?
You use the technology to help you with FaceTiming or because look, like you can have dinner with each other. You just got to Zoom and have dinner. You can do a Netflix night. You can both watch the same movie online and get that out of it and talk about the movie together. You can be in the same, you can be in bed with each other. You just can't have the physical part. So you can still feel like, hey, you're saying goodnight to each other, that kind of thing. It's hard though. I won't lie to you. It's definitely, it's hard from the physical standpoint. That's, it's the masturbation man. You know what I mean? Like you end up sexting each other or, sending each other videos. So there's something to that. So, but I think that you have to do your best to have regular visits. I mean, you have
it's
just important.
And if you don't want to see somebody and visit with them, maybe you're picking the wrong person from the get.
I agree. And I think that there's both partners have to be committed to it. Like it can't be a one-way street. You can't be like, hey, I'm only stringing this person along because, I don't want to hurt their feelings. It's like, no, don't do that shit. If you're not in, say it. If you're in, say it. Because everyone will be much happier with that. So.
Honesty is a good thing in any relationship, whether it be a long distance one or one that's right down the street. Correct.
You have to both be in talking about what you want. If not, you both have to get out and be okay with that. Like, just go, look, this isn't going to work for me because of this. And not be afraid to tell them that. Like, I think that just holding on to something that's not going to be real for a long period of time, is you're just damaging yourself, whether you want to or not. It's just happening, and I don't know. I think that it's a killer because you want to hold on to this thing that you think is great, but you might be holding on to it for the wrong reason where, it's not going to work out. So a long distance relationship is definitely a hard one, I think, because look, if someone's across the country and you're always wondering what they're doing, like, what did they do today?
And situation.
And they're 3 hours ahead of you. So you're like, you're waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. It's already 10 o'clock. Their life's moving already. You're like, so they'll text you and be like, hey, what's going on? I fucking just woke up. Like, I literally just woke up out of bed. And they're like, oh yeah, I fucking went to the market. I've already done my laundry today. I'm hanging out by the pool already. And you're like, oh shit. Like, okay. And then there's the flip side of that where, if you live on the West Coast and it's 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday, you're like, woo, you're round up and ready to go. And you're like, it's midnight. They're like, fuck, like, I'm tired. And I've already worked, I've had a long day already. And you're trying to make both of those work. So you definitely have to understand that part of the relationship, the time period part, where you're like,
yes,
fuck, all of a sudden they just disappear. You're like, yeah, I text you and you didn't answer me back. Well, you didn't answer me back because it was already 11:30 and they fell asleep. and they don't get the text message until, let's say 6:30 in the morning, their time. Well, fucking A, man, it's 3:30 in the morning. They can't text you. And so they have to look at the text and go, okay, I can't answer it until they're going to be awake at 7:30 Pacific.
Yeah, another 4 hours.
Right. That's now 10:30 my time. So, you feel like you're sitting on a text message that was done so many hours ago, but because you're just waiting for them to get out of bed.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird thing. So there's definitely a lot of these little idiosyncrasies that you have to think about when you're in these relationships with people across the country.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
I think they can work.
Do it.
Yeah, I think they can work. But I will tell you, I think that it's there's a lot to it. You have to be a strong-willed person. You have to understand what's going on with each other, and communication is key. If you're having a shitty day, you have to be able to say, I'm having a shit day. I don't want to talk tonight. It's not you.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. So then nobody's hurt over anything, because it's so easy to get ass hurt. Because you're just like, hey, I just wanted to talk. Yeah, I had a shitty day. And not only did I have a shitty day, it's 8 o'clock at night now, and I just want to go to sleep. And you're like, oh yeah, it's 5. I just got off work. You're looking to talk. I had a shit day too, but it's 5 o'clock and I need to tell somebody about this shit day. I need you to listen to me for a little while. So I don't know. It's definitely a hard thing to do. And I think that, we'll probably have to revisit this another time again. And maybe we'll bring somebody on who's been in that long distance relationship, because I'd like to get somebody else's take on it. Because obviously I don't have to worry about you because you're not doing that shit.
No.
No for Tina, please. That's a Tina for no.
I'm doing a lot of things, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah. No.
There's just, I don't know. Life has changed, and I know that I don't want to struggle anymore, and that would just be too much for me. So I'm okay to let you do it.
It's a Meatloaf song, right? I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that.
But I won't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, I think it's not for everybody. You have to be a very strong-willed person and understand that the time that you can be with somebody, it's the most quality time in the world. Even though you might be, I've driven 2 hours to see somebody for 15 minutes.
That's more reasonable, I think, than the whole,
No, but I mean, just think about
distancing.
that. Drive 2 hours, see somebody for 15 minutes, get right back in your car and drive 2 hours home for this amount of time.
That's a long day.
Yeah.
For
it's a long
15
day.
minutes.
But,
Yeah.
for some people that works. I just don't know how long that'll work for, but it all matters how you are in a relationship.
I agree.
Well, look at that. 45 minutes in the tank. Another great show, I think. And I think that we're continuing to give our listeners something to chat about or yell at us about while they're driving.
There you go. Either one will work.
Exactly. And I think that that's a positive. Do you want me to give them the spiel today?
Sure, if you'd like to.
I'll give them the spiel. So you can listen to our show on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon. Those are the big four. As always, iHeartRadio. You can actually listen to us on our Facebook page, Audible, but you can listen to us on our Facebook page now. Every Wednesday, if you go to our Facebook page, there will be a post automatically done with our show with a link that you can click on. So feel free to click on that and check us out. We're really hitting a lot of markets. We're doing great. Our best month we've ever had was the month of March. So I'd like to thank everyone who downloaded. We're getting a lot of listens, and you're definitely listening to the shows again, and it's good. It feels like we're doing something out there for you guys. Winners of the coffee. So I'll give one and you can give the other. The first one is Steve Espinoza. He's out of Corona, California. He's going to get a bag of the Throat Punch Brew, which I have a shirt on today.
Yes.
And who's the other?
Mary Jaime will be getting her bag of coffee as well. Thank you so much for listening to us and for participating.
Yes, and we're gonna continue to have cool little things like this. We're gonna come up with some more shows. We have so many ideas that are inside our little brains. So and we definitely want more people on. So feel free to go to our Facebook page. You can email us at let's see, what is it?
DGTTwisted. WISTED.
At Gmail. So feel free to do that as well. And it's been a pleasure as always, Tina. Like I always have fun doing these shows, and it's always good to see you, even though we're far away, long distance.
Even though we're doing this long distance.
Exactly. A long distance.
This relationship I kind of like. We could keep this one like this.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not too bad. It's not horribly
it's not too bad. And we could always go and get pizza at Chi-Chi's if we need to see each other.
We need to do another Chi-Chi's run for sure.
Sunday.
So. Sunday, maybe. That's a great idea.
I agree.
So, this is an opinion show. So don't get it twisted. It's just us having a little fun or poking fun. One of the two. So feel free to continue to listen. We enjoy this just wholeheartedly. So thanks for listening. Tina, as always, love you just so much. And we'll see you
back
in a
at
week.
you, Robbie.
Every Wednesday. Every Wednesday you can listen to Don't Get This Twisted. So again, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio, Facebook. We have an Instagram. Hit it up. Come see us. And we'll see you in a week. Bye, Tina.
Bye.